Welcome to Jenny Fluent English, a calm place where you can listen, relax, and feel at home in English. Tonight, I want to continue a story we began before the story of Christmas. Last time, we traveled back to the night that changed the world. We walked beside Mary and Joseph through the quiet streets of Bethlehem. We saw a star shining above the stable, a baby sleeping in his mother's arms, and the first whispers of peace moving through the night. But that was only the beginning. Because the light born that night didn't stay in one place. It began to travel from heart to heart, across years and oceans carried by people who believed that kindness could keep the world warm. Tonight, I want to tell you about those people, about the hearts that kept the flame of Christmas alive, about the moments, sometimes small, sometimes extraordinary, that showed what Christmas truly means. Long after Bethlehem, in a town by the sea, there lived a man named Nicholas. He wasn't rich, but he had enough. And what made him special wasn't what he owned, it was what he gave. Nicholas had grown up hearing stories about that holy night long ago, about love born in silence. And somehow, he carried that love in everything he did. He helped travelers who had no roof. He brought food to families when their cupboards were empty. And most of all, he gave gifts not for praise, not for thanks, but for joy. He gave in secret. At night, when everyone slept, he would walk through the quiet streets with a small bag of coins or bread or toys, leaving them at doors or windows where he knew kindness was needed. One winter, a poor father had 3 daughters. They were gentle, kind girls, but their family had lost everything. They had no dowry, no money for marriage, no future. Nicholas knew, but he never said a word. That night, when the moon rose, he quietly walked to their house. Through a small open window, he dropped a pouch of gold. It fell softly into a stocking that hung to dry by the fire. When the family woke the next morning, they found it and their tears turned to laughter. For the first time in months, the house was filled with warmth again. Nicholas kept giving, year after year, and though many never knew his name, they felt his spirit, a quiet, glowing reminder of that first gift ever given. Over time, people began to tell stories about him. They called him Saint Nicholas, the man of giving, the friend of children, the one who walked softly through the snow leaving hope behind. As years passed and the world changed, his story changed too. Sailors carried his name across the seas. Villages built small churches to honor his kindness, and in the hearts of children, Saint Nicholas became something magical, not just a man, but the spirit of generosity itself. In different lands, he was called by many names: Nikolaus, Sinterklaas, Santa Claus. But no matter the name, the story stayed the same. A reminder that kindness never needs to be seen to be real. And maybe that's what Christmas became for people. A time not to count what we have, but to remember what we can share. Because when you truly give, you don't just change someone's day, you keep the world's light alive. So, the story of Nicholas became part of December's rhythm. Parents told it by the fire. Children listened with wide eyes, imagining the sound of quiet footsteps in the snow, the soft jingle of coins, the whisper of fabric as a small gift was placed on a windowsill. And somewhere, perhaps, The real spirit of Nicholas' smile, not because people remembered his name, but because they remembered how it felt to give without needing a reason. That spirit began to grow. In cold towns where snow covered roofs and rivers froze, neighbors started helping each other more. They shared food, wood, and laughter. They lit candles not just for decoration, but for hope. And when December came, people felt it, that old warmth returning, that invisible thread connecting every heart that remembered to care. Some people didn't call it faith or magic. They called it the spirit of Christmas, a gentle thing, a quiet, human thing, something that began long ago in a stable and found its way into every act of kindness ever since. But there were times when the world forgot, when darkness felt louder than light, when people stopped trusting each other, when nations fought and winter nights grew colder. Even then, the spirit of Christmas waited, because love, real love, never disappears. It only hides, waiting for someone brave enough to remember. And that's how another story began, one that proved, even in war, peace can find its way. The snow fell quietly across the fields of Europe. It was the winter of 1914, and the world was at war. For months, soldiers had lived in the trenches, cold, hungry, and far from home. They wrote letters by candlelight, thinking of families who were decorating trees and lighting fires, not knowing if they would ever return. The sky was grey, heavy with smoke and sorrow. Yet even here, even in this place of fear, something gentle was waiting beneath the silence. On the night of December 24th, the wind slowed. The sound of gunfire faded, replaced by the soft crackle of frost. And then, from somewhere in the darkness, a voice began to sing. It was faint at first, one voice, trembling in the cold. Silent night, holy night. The words floated through the air, across the wire that separated enemies. Then another voice joined in, from the other side, and another, until the song rose and fell over the battlefield like a prayer too beautiful to stop. Men who had been strangers, even enemies, listened, and for the first time in months, their hearts remembered something warmer than fear. They began to climb out of their trenches, slowly, carefully, hands empty. No one shouted. No one fired. The moon watched as soldiers met in the middle, men in different uniforms, speaking different languages, smiling without words. They shared cigarettes, small pieces of chocolate, photographs of wives and children. Someone brought a tiny tree lit with candles made from wax and hope. Someone else pulled out a football, and laughter echoed through the night. The war did not end that evening, but for a few hours, peace crossed the frozen ground like a miracle. It wasn't signed on paper. It was simply felt in shaking hands, in shared smiles, in songs sung by men who just wanted to go home. When dawn came, the officers ordered them back to their posts. The guns began again, and the snow turned grey with smoke. But the men carried something new in their hearts. They had seen that even in the darkest places, kindness could survive. Even surrounded by war, they had found Christmas. Years later, people would call it the Christmas truce. They would write songs and poems about it, wondering how such peace could appear in such chaos. But those who were there didn't call it history. They called it memory, a night when love whispered louder than fear. And maybe that is the true power of Christmas. Not to erase pain or stop the storms, but to remind us that inside every person, there is still a spark of good waiting to be seen. After the war, when people returned home, many found their towns broken, their fields empty, their hearts tired. But every Christmas, they told their children about that night. They spoke of the singing, the laughter, the candles glowing on the snow. And as they spoke, that small flame came alive again, passed down from one generation to another. Some said it was only a story, but if you listen closely on a quiet December night, you might still hear it. A distant echo of men singing in the cold, choosing love when the world had forgotten how. That same spirit of giving, of forgiving, of remembering what truly matters, started to appear in many places after that. People began to think, if peace can happen for one night, maybe it can happen for longer. And so they tried. Villages rebuilt together, neighbors shared food again. Letters crossed oceans with words like hope and home written carefully across envelopes. The world was learning, slowly, to heal. And each December, when bells rang and candles flickered, it felt as though the earth was breathing out softly, bravely, forgiving itself just a little more. In time, new traditions grew. Some came from faith, some from culture, but all from the same longing for warmth. People began to hang lights in windows, to gather under trees, to give gifts not for luxury, but for love. Children left cookies by the fireplace, imagining Saint Nicholas still walking through the snow, his footsteps silent and his smile kind. Parents told stories by candlelight, not of war or fear, but of peace, laughter, and second chances. Each generation added something new, a song, a custom, a small act of love. And together, they built what we now call the Christmas spirit. And maybe, if you look closely, it isn't really about the season at all. Maybe it's about remembering what we are capable of when we see the world with gentler eyes. A cup of tea shared with someone lonely. A letter written to someone you miss. A simple thank you whispered to the sky. Because those are the things that keep the light alive, the same light that began in Bethlehem, that walked with Nicholas through his village, that shone above the battlefield one cold winter night. The spirit of Christmas isn't trapped in history. It moves quietly every year through everyone who chooses kindness over silence. It doesn't ask for perfection. It only asks for presence, a heart willing to listen, a hand willing to give, a voice willing to say, "Peace be with you." After the war ended and peace began to grow again, people carried something invisible but strong, a lesson from that night of music and snow. They had learned that even the smallest act of kindness could change the shape of the world. And so, the spirit of Christmas began to live not only in stories, but in the everyday things people did for one another. In a small village by the sea, an old woman baked bread every December. She lived alone, her children far away, her house quiet except for the sound of waves. But each morning she made extra loaves and left them on her neighbor's steps. No one ever saw her do it, Yet everyone in the village waited for her bread, warm, simple, wrapped in cloth. They said it tasted like love. In another town, a young boy saved coins all year. He didn't tell anyone why. Then, one snowy afternoon, he used the money to buy candles for the church. He placed them in the window, one by one, until the whole building glowed like a star. When people asked him why he did it, he only said, "Because light looks better when we all see it together." And far away, in a small hospital, a nurse worked through Christmas Eve. The halls were quiet, the patients asleep. She was tired. Her hands sore, but she hummed softly as she walked from room to room. One man, an old soldier, woke as she adjusted his blanket. He smiled faintly. "It's Christmas, isn't it?" he whispered. She nodded, smiling back. He closed his eyes and said, "Thank you for not letting it be lonely." Sometimes Christmas isn't found in gifts or grand celebrations. It's found in small moments like these, unseen, unrecorded, but deeply felt. People began to notice something magical. The more kindness they gave, the more warmth they felt. It was like breathing, giving, and receiving, becoming one simple rhythm. And in that rhythm, the true spirit of Christmas kept moving, quietly, endlessly. It moved through cities where bells rang above busy streets, through forests where children sang beside fires, through homes where families laughed together after long, hard years apart. And soon it crossed borders. In Germany, people began decorating fir trees, hanging candles, and small gifts on the branches. Each tree glowed like a tiny world of its own, fragile, beautiful, alive. In England, families gathered to read stories by the fire. Stories of ghosts, redemption, laughter, and love. Charles Dickens wrote A Christmas Carol, reminding everyone that no heart is ever too cold to be warmed again. In America, lights filled every street. People wrote letters to Santa. Children left cookies by the fire, and carolers sang through the snow. In Australia, where Christmas comes with sunshine instead of snow, people celebrated on the beach. Families grilled food under golden skies, the waves singing softly in the background. The warmth was different, not from fire, but from the sea and the laughter of friends. In Vietnam, the air was warm and filled with music. Churches glowed with lanterns, children wore red and white, and streets shimmered with lights. Even those who didn't share the same faith joined the celebration because Christmas had become something more than religion. It had become a feeling of togetherness, of peace, of gentle joy. Around the world, the same melodies played. Silent night, O holy night, joy to the world. Different voices, different languages, but the same warmth underneath. Somewhere in every town, a candle burned quietly in a window, a reminder that love, once lit, never truly goes out. Every December, people rediscovered what mattered most. They wrote cards to old friends. They forgave. They visited grandparents, hugged tighter, laughed louder. They found reasons to hope again, even when the world felt uncertain. The Christmas spirit had become like air invisible, but everywhere it needed no permission, no ceremony. It lived in the small, silent things people did with love. Sometimes, on cold nights, you can still feel that same energy in the air. Not the kind that sparkles in store windows or shines from tall trees, but the kind that makes a stranger hold the door or makes you smile at someone you don't know. That's the spirit that Saint Nicholas carried. That's the peace the soldiers found. That's the warmth the shepherds felt. It moves quietly from one heart to another, the same way the star once moved across the sky, guiding us, reminding us, calling us home. The world keeps changing. New generations grow up with new songs, new traditions, new ways to say Merry Christmas. But the message remains the same. It isn't about the past. It isn't even about one single night. It's about remembering that light always finds a way and that every heart has the power to carry it forward. And as the night deepens, you might find yourself thinking of someone you miss, or someone you love, or someone you once forgave. That's the magic. It connects us quietly, without words. The same way snow connects every roof in a town, the same way stars connect across the dark sky. You don't have to do something grand to keep Christmas alive. You only need to be kind, to smile when you can, to forgive when it's hard, to love when the world seems cold. Because every time you choose kindness, you become part of the same story that began 2,000 years ago. And maybe that's why, after all these years, Christmas still feels like a whisper. It never needs to shout to be heard. It doesn't demand anything. It just waits quietly for hearts to open. Because somewhere in every one of us, that little light still burns. Sometimes it flickers. Sometimes it hides behind the noise of life, but it never truly goes out. All it takes is one gentle thought, one act of love to make it shine again. If you've ever held someone's hand in silence, or helped without being asked, or forgiven without hearing an apology, then you already know the true meaning of Christmas. It's not a date on a calendar or a story from long ago. It's something that lives quietly in every kind thing we do. It lives in the people who keep showing up with warm hearts, even after the world has gone cold. And in that way, the Christmas spirit never belongs to one place, one time, or one belief. It belongs to everyone. Tonight, as the lights dim and the world slows down, you might hear laughter from a nearby home or music carried softly by the wind. You might see a single star through your window or feel a warmth you can't quite explain. That's it. That's the same peace that began long ago. The same love that St. Nicholas carried. The same kindness that crossed battlefields. The same hope that still visits us year after year. And maybe that's what we're all searching for. Not the perfect Christmas, but a quiet one. One where the world feels soft again, where hearts remember what it means to care. So wherever you are tonight, whether it's snowing outside your window or summer sunlight is glowing through your curtains, whether you're surrounded by laughter or sitting in peaceful silence, I hope you feel this moment. I hope you know that you are part of the same story, the same light, the same love that keeps traveling through time. Because Christmas isn't just something we celebrate, it's something we become. And now, as you close your eyes and let your breath slow, imagine that star above you again, the same one that shone over Bethlehem, the same one that guided the wise men, The same one that has watched over every quiet December since. It's still there, gentle, steady, shining for you. Let its light fill your heart with calm and its warmth wrap around your dreams. Thank you for spending this peaceful night with Jenny Fluent English. If you enjoy soft English stories that help you learn, relax, and dream, stay close. There are many more nights and many more gentle journeys ahead. But for now, breathe deeply. Let the world rest and sleep knowing that the light of kindness, the peace of Christmas, and the love that began long ago are still here, quietly waiting for you. Merry Christmas and good night.